A season ago, Syracuse men's basketball just narrowly took down Lemoyne by just 4 points in its season opener. And the Dolphins were a team that just were integrated into Division I. That was a sign of things to come for Syracuse, who unfortunately had its worst season in 56 years. But tonight, a different story against Binghamton. In this year's season opener, Syracuse taking down the Bearcats by a whopping 85-47 in a game where the Orange had 5 different players record double digits. And here to break it all down on Orange Press Pass, Josh Solomon, Rahill Jaiswal, I'm Gino Antimarino. So much to get into, so let's not waste any more time. Boy, I love that music. And you know what that means. It's time for another Orange Press Pass. Josh Solomon, Rahill Jaiswal, Gino Antimarino here with you, breaking down a big-time win for Syracuse to open up the season. 85-47, the Orange take it over the Bearcats in a game where Syracuse had its biggest margin of victory in an opener since 2014, a game where Syracuse never trailed. Rahill, I'll start with you. The Orange clearly looked like the better team in this one.
Yeah, certainly much better than what it was last year. And mainly, Josh, athleticism is key. You finally saw it this whole offseason. Autry talked about wanting to play quick, what he couldn't do last year because of the limitations of the roster. He finally went out, got some guys in the portal that can move, are strong, athletic, a little bigger, a little stronger. And it showed tonight, real positive signs for the Orange, even though it is Binghamton.
Well, I'm going to go against you a little bit. A little bigger, a little stronger. How about a little smaller?
Yeah.
They played small tonight in comparison to last year. Remember Eddie Lampkin down low, 6'11", was more than 270 pounds, basically. Well, he struggled with that athleticism.
Yes,
but tonight and starting this season, it's going to be William Kyle at the center position, only 6'9", scored 16 points tonight. Donnie Freeman, the same height as well, playing power forward, led the team tonight with 20 points. So playing smaller, and so far, it's working out.
You guys both hit the nail on the head. Returners with Donnie Freeman coming back, having an excellent game, but then also some of the new faces really getting in on the mix. So let's not waste any more time. Let's see how this went down at the JMA Wireless Dome. To start things off, Syracuse with an excellent start in this one. As you can see here, J.J. Starling, righty dribble, throwing it up. How you doing? William Kyle throwing it down. 8-0 Syracuse, 2.5 minutes played, but unfortunately, that was all you were really going to see from J.J. Starling, who you can see right there clasping his right hamstring. He went back to the locker room, came back, watched the rest of the game from the sideline, and speaking of more ugly, you can say, for the Orange, the three-pointers, Rahill, just continue to be a struggle for Syracuse.
Yeah, Gino, similar to last year, but the reason they didn't need it was because of this man right here, Nathan George. What a debut for him in the Dome.
Getting it done on both ends of the floor. 5 steals, 14 points, and oh yeah, how about 8 assists, including this one right here to Donnie Freeman, who flushed it. The returner in this one with J.J. Starling out, Josh, he looked really good, leading all players in scoring.
Yeah, Donnie Freeman, his season was cut short last year due to a lower body injury, but wanted to start this one strong, and he certainly did tonight.
Betsy knocking down that three you saw just moments ago, the Cincinnati transfer. And how about Kyan Anthony? Welcome to the Dome, 32-14, Syracuse on top of Binghamton, heading into the break. And Nathan George picking up right where things left off. The shooting from beyond the arc got a little bit better from beyond. 3 for 9 in the second after shooting 1 for 12 from 3 in the first. But Kyan Anthony, Rahill, 15 points today. He looked like a stud.
Yeah, Gino, he really came alive in the second half. He started out a little nervous, but a great start to his career in Orange.
William Kyle, you talked about him, Josh, 16 points today, 8 for 9 shooting, just a presence down low.
I'm excited to see what he brings. Again, it's a little different from last season with a smaller guy all the way down low, as you said, at center, and he looked good tonight.
Absolutely, and speaking of looking good, Nathan George with a triple to end the game, 85-47, the final score. And Syracuse just flat out dominated from start to finish. You can see the numbers right there. Demetrius Lilly, the star player for Binghamton, actually had a really good game himself, 17 points, 6 for 13. Also had himself 13 rebounds, but it wasn't enough to take down Syracuse, regardless of not having J.J. Starling. All right, well, we have someone in the Dome to talk a little bit further about what happened. And with that, we welcome in our handsome Luke Burgess. I mean, talk about a score that looks good. Look at this man right here. Look at that suit looking great. All right, Luke, enough, hyping you up a little bit. I got to ask you, first things first. J.J. Starling goes down. Obviously, he came back on the bench, looked a little bit unhappy, as he would normally. What did head coach Adrian Autry say after the game? Any updates? And who do you think stepped up in his place?
Yeah, well, Gino, first of all, thank you for the compliment. I sincerely appreciate it. Second of all, a good sign that J.J. Starling came back onto the bench. Surely, Adrian Autry said after the game, if he didn't come back onto the bench, that would have been bad. The other thing that he said is the trainers probably would have let him know if it was something super serious. So he's not really concerned, it seemed like. He said he thinks that J.J. will probably be all right, so it seems like it's nothing serious, but certainly a lower leg injury. That was what was cited. It looked to me like something with the ankle, so seemed like he rolled up on it a little bit. Didn't have a great vantage point of when it happened, but that was what the reports I was hearing were, and also when I was speaking with some people as well after the game, that's what they said. Starling, like you said, Gino, came back onto the bench. He had a towel on top of his head. He was not a part of those team huddles, which was kind of a pretty quick indication that he was not going to continue playing. As for who stepped up in his place, you guys already said it. Kyan Anthony has to be him. My goodness, I don't think he probably would have played quite as much had JJ been on the court, just because Autry was giving his starters pretty good run at times, but Anthony got in the mix with that first unit a couple of times, and he was very, very good.
Hey, Luke, good to see you as always. Another player who stepped up was William Kyle, someone who you didn't really think you'd get much out of offensively. 16 points tonight, 8 of 9 shooting. What'd you see out of the new center for SU?
Yeah, honestly, Rahill, I think William Kyle has got to be one of the main stories of this night. I know that Kyan Anthony is going to dominate the headlines simply because of the name that he possesses, and don't get me wrong, I think Anthony played a very, very good game, but William Kyle, my goodness, that guy is an athlete. He is going to completely change what Syracuse can do offensively, and I want you all at home and back in studio as well to think back to last season with Eddie Lampkin, a guy who had all the size in the world but just was simply not athletic. He was not mobile inside the paint, and he did not even have close to the amount of bounce that William Kyle has. That guy just has unreal jumping ability, and he showcased it tonight. Donnie Freeman actually said it best. I'll finish on this. He said, I think he had 16 points, 8 field goals, and all 8 of them were dunks. And I honestly think that might not be an exaggeration whatsoever. I haven't gone back and checked yet, but Kyle just provides a different element in the paint, and they were going to him constantly for alley-oops. He's an exciting player, someone to watch out for, and he really brings another aspect to this offense that I think people are going to enjoy watching this year.
Luke, great to see you in the Dome tonight. I want to ask about Adrian Autry. Did he say anything? Yes, a 38-point win, but down the stretch, if you're going to keep shooting 4 for 21 from deep, that's going to be a problem. Did Adrian Autry have anything to say about that and his team maybe getting better along the stretch and eventually when the team gets to ACC play?
Yeah, he did, Josh. He said that we are not going to lose games because of our offense this year. And I think adversely, hand in hand with that, they're not going to win games because of their offense. And that was very interesting to hear from Autry, to be honest with you, because last season this was a team that they wanted to push the pace offensively. They wanted to get inside and create. And tonight, at times, the offense really wasn't there. But I'll tell you what was there was the defense. Double-digit steals in this game. They just put Binghamton under a ton of pressure. And although I think a lot of people might be concerned when you look at, for example, maybe the three-point shooting tonight, that might not translate over where you're going to win big games against teams coming up like Houston and Kansas. The defense, if it can be half as good as what it was tonight against some of those teams, Syracuse is going to be in those games because the offense was close to competing with good teams last year, and then it kind of trailed off as the game went on, and that was because Syracuse couldn't stop anyone. But tonight, the defense looked really improved, so I don't think that the focus is on the offense. I think they expect the three-point shooting to continue to improve as the season goes along, just as guys get more comfortable with their roles. But certainly the defense is where this team is going to make its money.
Great points, Luke. Syracuse's defense looks spectacular. The offense obviously has some potential. We're still waiting to see it in full form, but it's only game one, so still plenty of time left. Luke, it was great getting to talk to you, and make sure you get back to the Citrus TV studios as soon as possible because I know he's going to try and take some shots if he's got a basketball. Loves to go to the gym and shoot some hoops. Not the best. But anyways, coming up here on Orange Precipice, we go into a little bit of a deeper dive on this Syracuse victory. And also, I get into my player of the game. All that and more. Stick around. Orange Precipice continues after this. Welcome back into the CitrusTV studios for Orange Precipice. Josh Solomon, Rahill Jaiswal, Gino, Antimarino. After a dominant 85-47 victory for Syracuse over Binghamton, an excellent game for the Orange. But before we go back into talking about this game, let's take a look around the hill. What else is going on in Syracuse athletics? As you can see there, field hockey playing its last game of the regular season and falling short against Louisville. Ooh, that is not a good sight.
Yeah, definitely not the way you want to finish the season. SU has had a little bit of issues against ranked opponents, and another team that's struggled against ranked opponents, SU Volleyball. Valiant effort against Miami, but the Kirgadesh-Rotnam squad falling in 4 sets.
And how about a game upcoming for Syracuse men's soccer ACC tournament action? Virginia Tech, SU Soccer Stadium. I'm certainly excited about that one on Wednesday, and I think you guys are too.
Yeah, and how about women's basketball in action tomorrow as well against Stony Brook? 6 o'clock tip for that as well. All right, let's go back to basketball, but let's go around the NCAA for the men's side. And Arizona and Florida. A little bit of an upset there, 2 ranked teams, but Arizona obviously taking down Florida.
And how about Auburn almost losing to Bethune-Cookman? Yes, you heard that. A couple of guys were tracking that in studio, but nevertheless, Auburn escapes in a tight one.
And in the New York area, down below us in the city, St. John's, Rick Pitino, a lot of eyes on that team heading into another year, and they took care of Quinnipiac tonight.
Well, speaking of taking care of business, Syracuse's defense did just that. In a game where Binghamton had over 20 turnovers, Syracuse with double digits in steals. Rahill, I'll start with you. The defense for the Orange looked really good.
Yeah, it was swarming and a real refresher, especially considering what head coach Adrian Autry said after the exhibition against Pace, where he was so disappointed with the energy. But mainly, Josh, they finally got back in transition. This is a thing that the team could not do it all last year, but that athleticism and that new strength and conditioning they did clearly worked because they were gassing it every time down the floor.
Gino, you mentioned double-digit steals, 11 tonight. Only 1 game last season with more than 11 steals. It was 13 against Boston College. So, you want to start out a season well defensively, that's the way to do it. And only allowing 14 points in the first half. Binghamton was shooting 5 for 25 in those opening 20 minutes. Pretty unbelievable stuff.
Well, you can see there last season's defensive average compared to tonight, and obviously a lot more of a sample size if you're comparing last year, but nonetheless, getting off on the right foot is obviously very important for this year.
Yeah, 100%. This is the defense that all fans were hoping to see and everyone was clamming for a year ago, so we'll see how Syracuse keeps it up when their schedule maybe gets a little more difficult.
Now, one of the uglier things you can say about Syracuse is the shooting from beyond the arc. And Syracuse had those struggles last year, shot around 30%, and the woes just seem to continue. Went 1 for 12 in the first half, 3 for 9 in the second half. But, even though things kind of leveled out a little bit in the second 20 minutes of action, still some things to clean up on. But head coach Adrian Autry said after the game that, listen, we're not really utilizing the three-point shots because that's not our bread and butter.
Yeah, and they didn't need it tonight, but every time a ball goes up in the air, it's, get down, because Syracuse keeps laying bricks. It happens year in and year again. I know it didn't come back to haunt them tonight, but if you're an SU fan, you'd love to see maybe a little better. You got guys like Nate Kings who shot over 40% at Oregon State, and it was nothing but air balls tonight.
Yeah, Kings 0 for 3 from 3, but go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say, Gino, adding it up with your mathematics there in the first and second half, that's 4 for 21 overall from deep. And also just highlighting a player in the wrong way, Tyler Betsy, the Cincinnati transfer, 1 for 7 from deep. Yes, I know it might not be the quote-unquote bread and butter for Adrian Autry's team, but as I was asking Luke, when you're playing those games down the stretch in non-conference play and conference play, it doesn't matter. You can't shoot that poorly from 3. Come on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Tyler Betsy was the only one to have a three-pointer in that first half, but then, as you can see there, did not hit another one for the rest of the game. But Syracuse doesn't need the three-pointers to fall, clearly, to win games. But one person that we really want to highlight, and we talked about this as we were watching the game the entire night, Nathan George, the Georgia Tech transfer, really put on a showcase.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. And the main thing that stood out to me, Gino and Josh, was the fact that he only had 1 turnover. The one kind of bugaboo with him last year was he averaged 3 turnovers a game at Georgia Tech, and everyone was thinking, Syracuse turns the ball over a lot. That could have been a lot of issues, a lot of trouble, but thankfully Nathan George was able to figure it out tonight and looked great. 8 assists as well to go along with his points.
Yeah, looking really good. In 2 years at Georgia Tech combined in freshman and sophomore year, he averaged 11 points per game. What a way to start your career off in orange with 14 tonight, 6 for 9, you mentioned it. But like all over the stat sheet, right, with the rebounds.
5 steals.
Yeah, 5 steals, 8 assists, offensively, defensively. You're looking at it on your screen right there with his time with the Yellow Jackets. It's looking really good. He started off the season well tonight.
I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head, and for that reason, Nathan George is our player of the game. Really just tore it up. 14 points, 8 assists, 5 steals. I mean, he was really getting the job done on both ends of the floor in a game where obviously J.J. Starling goes out. Who was going to step up? It's Nathan George, the transfer from Georgia Tech, who last year finished top 2 in assists, right behind Elliot Cadeau of North Carolina. But Nathan George really showcasing that playmaking and then also scoring. So some great things ahead for Syracuse men's basketball and some great things ahead here on Orange Press Pass. We've got Take Your Pick with my analysts. When we come back, you won't want to miss it. It's game time here in our CitrusTV studios.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's game time here in CitrusTV
What
studios
time is
for
it?
Orange Press. I'm sorry?
What time
is it?
It is... Oh, it's game time.
There
Rahill,
you go.
Jaiswal, Josh Solomon. I'm Gino, Antimarino. It's enough for me to stop playing. I need to stop playing games. We need to start playing games. It's called Take Your Pick. And so I'm going to list a subject, and you guys are going to give me your answers. It's as simple as that. If you guys mess this up, I'm going to really question your
We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
yeah, so take your pick. Starts now. I mean, nothing screams games than some wacky music. We love it.
Love it.
All right, first things first. We got to talk about the new players for Syracuse because only 3 returners for the Orange from last season into this season. And obviously the only returner that played the entire game was Donnie Freeman. Now, He led all scorers in points, but enough about the returners. We want to talk about the new faces that have come into Syracuse. Rahill, I'll start with you. How did you think the new guys looked in today's game?
Yeah, this was really interesting because you thought, how are they going to gel? But I was pretty impressed, mildly impressed with how the returners played, particularly Kai and Anthony in the second half. There was that one possession in the first where he looked so tentative. Gino and I were screaming, attack, attack, and eventually he did in the second half. Nathan George, you've already talked about it as well. Tyler Betsy had his struggles, but overall, pretty impressive day for the starters.
For the newbies. Kai and Anthony maybe showing flashes of his father a little bit in the Syracuse white uniforms tonight. Also, the forwards. William Kyle, we mentioned it. Well, he's the center, 16 points tonight, and all the other things that came with him, 5 rebounds, an assist, and a block. And Tyler Betsy, although wasn't shooting the best from deep, 10 points and 2 steals this evening as well. You take a look on your screen. Yes, the field goal percentages for Anthony and Kyle looking a little bit better than Tyler Betsy. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what Kyan will bring to this team. Definitely, utilizing him off the bench will, I think, really help Syracuse, especially down the stretch.
Well, Syracuse hopes to continue to get the new guys involved in not just in conference schedule, but also obviously in the non-con. And Syracuse got 11 games left in the non-con, including that Players Era tournament out in Vegas. So I'm going to start with you, Josh. Going back to you, how do you think Syracuse pans out in the non-con schedule right before ACC play starts?
Okay, well, we're talking about game times and having some fun, and I had to agree with Rahill on the last point because the Syracuse newbies are looking really good. But I think we have a little bit of a difference here in how we think this non-conference schedule is going to go. You see it on your screen. 9-3. I think this team is going to play really well.
Okay.
You look at the teams ahead of them, the next 3 matchups, Delaware State, Drexel, and Monmouth. The NET rankings takes into account the game results, the strength of schedule, and even more to help determine the NCAA tournament teams. Those next 3 teams, all above 185 in college basketball on that list. And then you take a look at your screen after that. Okay. There's some games coming up. Houston and Kansas, I think those are losses. They're going to play a 3rd team in that tournament in Vegas. I think they win that game, though. I only think the 3 losses are those back-to-back-to-back. Houston, Kansas, Tennessee. 9-3 in non-conference play.
Okay, so you're slightly more optimistic than I am because I have this squad finishing at 8-4. So very similar results. Syracuse should be unbeaten by the time they get to that tournament in Vegas, but obviously you're not going to pick them to beat Houston. I'm not going to pick them to beat Kansas, and I actually think they do lose that 3rd game. I think it's
we don't even know who they're playing.
I know, but that's most likely going to be a quad 1 team. Given the strength of that tournament, you also have to factor in playing 3 games and 3 days, something that's very difficult. So I overall see Syracuse losing those 3 games, and I also think they lose that one to Tennessee in the ACC-SEC Challenge. Let's not forget what happened last year. I know it's back this year, it's at the Dome, but let's not forget what happened last year when they went to Rocky Top and got rocked.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
Yeah, you like that. But I have them going 8-4 in the non-con, and I think if everyone saw that at the start of the year, they would take that.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna give my take as well.
Yeah, why not?
I'm gonna go more with Rahill. I love the optimism. I know you only have Syracuse as one more win, but I agree with the losses that Syracuse is gonna have, especially in that Players Era tournament. But I do think you got to give maybe 1 extra game of cushion for Syracuse to figure things out. Who knows how long J.J. Starling's going to be out for? I know Adrian Autry said he's supposed to be back pretty soon. But
you know what I really like, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're all going above 500, which is something I think last season we would not be saying. I'm happy to be in the positive rather than the negative for Syracuse in non-conference play.
But I think we all are.
Unfortunately, if you're a Syracuse fan and you've been a fan for a long time, us talking about Syracuse having a winning record and a good winning record heading into ACC play,
the standards
who would have thought?
The standards have dropped. They used to be up here. Now they're maybe a little bit down here. Maybe a little lower.
Maybe you bring them back
But
up.
overall, 8-4 is not the worst. That's what I have them go. That's not the worst result. Hopefully, J.J. Starling should be back for that Players Era tournament. Didn't seem like it was anything too serious, so maybe he misses 1 or 2 non-con games. But listen, if you struggle in any of those non-con games, you got a lot of more issues than just J.J. Starling.
Absolutely right, Rahill. Those are great points for both of you guys. Syracuse obviously taking down Binghamton, and we've got one last break here on Orange Press Pass. It's sound off. Yeah, you're going to want to listen to what Josh and Rahill have to say after a dominant win against Binghamton. Stick around. Wrapping up shop here on Orange Press Pass after a Syracuse 85-47 win over Binghamton in the season opener at the JMA Wireless Dome. Back in Orange Press Pass, Josh Solomon, Rahill, Jaiswal, Gino, Antimarino. Let's look at Syracuse's upcoming schedule. As you can see there, Delaware State, they take on this Saturday. And we talked about the non-con schedule and how well Syracuse was going to do, but obviously you got to take care of business against some of these lower-end teams, to say the least.
Yeah, you definitely should. Now we'll see what happens when they play Houston, but Syracuse should be going undefeated until that Thanksgiving Day Vegas tournament.
Not much more to add. They should be doing the best that they possibly can against these teams. And I'm sorry, but it's got to be blowouts, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely right. You got to take care of business, and then obviously when you play those top teams, resume builders, so you got to make sure you're taking care of those. All right, without further ado, it's the highly anticipated Sound Off with my two analysts. Let's get right into it.
Now, the last time I did a sound off about Syracuse men's basketball, it was a little rough. I may have gone a little too far with what I said about the team, but this one's going to be a bit more positive, actually a lot more positives. And I'm going to give some credit to head coach Adrian Autry. Great job recruiting, Red. This is the first time in the last couple of years where Syracuse finally went out and got more than just a couple guys with big names, right? They finally have a system that seems to work. This whole offseason was dedicated to getting guys who are more athletic, lankier, and can push the pace. Remember, head coach Adrian Autry last year in one of the games said, we want to play 20 to 25 to 30 possessions, and then you had Eddie Lampkin starting at center. It did not work, and Jake Juan Carlos as well was very unproven. But now you've got William Kyle, who our brilliant Luke Burgess said was a revelation with the bounce he had, and as well now with Nathan George running the point, those lanky strides. This is a team that's going to be able to play fast, so hats off to you, Adrian Autry. You did your job when it came to recruiting.
Another positive point, and I think it's got to be one. Syracuse beat Binghamton by 38 today. So you know what? Let's build off this. You got the big win tonight against the Bearcats, then some easier opponents that we've already touched on. Delaware State, Drexel, Monmouth, two Coastal Conference teams, one Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference team. I mean, come on. All three games to start last season, it was 3 wins for Syracuse, but all within 10 points. Can Adrian Autry make this one a little bit of a bigger margin, please, in that early span? We're going to have to wait and find out, but I'm going to butt in and say this right now. Against these three teams, it's got to be 3 big marginal victories.
I think that's pretty fair to say. Make sure you tune in for our next Orange Press Pass. Not basketball, it is football. The Orange taking on Miami after dropping a game against SMU in Dallas. So, should be an interesting one?
No.
I don't know. Anyways, the Orange head to Miami. You can see the records there, and Syracuse looking to upset, but obviously things aren't looking too good for Syracuse.
We're ready for basketball season. Let's go.
It's basketball season, to say the least. But anyways, it was an excellent show, an excellent game for Syracuse, taking down Binghamton 85-47 from the JMA Wireless Dome to get off on the right foot. Josh Solomon, Rahill, Jaiswal, I'm Gino Antimarino for our producers and everyone here at Citrus TV. So long and have a good night.